Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are Lynne Rothrock. Lynne, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Dennis.
You've been
Thanks
on the
for
road.
having us.
You've been on the road this summer.
I have been a road warrior.
We'll talk about that. And also Paul Binkley, who's going to be a special guest at your upcoming show. Paul, nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Yep.
I was on the road too, overnight, basically.
Yes,
trying to get myself here. But happy to be here. Yeah.
Driving here from Nashville, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, oh gosh, so much stuff to talk about.
I know.
Let's start with the show.
Okay.
And then I want to, Paul, want to talk a little bit about you and your career, and then we'll dive back into the show, and 2 hours later we'll still be talking about who knows what. So you've got a show coming up at Opus.
I do.
Coming up on the 29th and the 30th.
That's
and
correct.
It's a little bit of a departure.
It is.
Although you've, over your career, I'd say, there have been many times you've kind of swung over the center line into...
Oh, I love a sports analogy about my career.
Country.
Is that a sports analogy? Okay, good.
Driving country. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe it was driving over the center line.
The center line of Americana and country, and of course your husband Ron. You know, as a blues player,
right?
Both electric and quite acoustic.
Yeah, just amazing.
But tell me about the show.
Well, I have always loved this kind of music, and I have been just a huge fan of Nanci Griffith. Really, I remember especially latching onto her music when I was in graduate school. And I think probably because I was singing classical music all the time in graduate school, and then it was like a respite for me to just love the beautiful simplicity of these folk songs. And actually we lost Nanci Griffith, I think about a year ago, and it really made me remember what an impact that music had on my life and how much I loved it. And that's when I kind of got the idea to maybe do a show that featured a lot of her music. And it also gave me a chance to invite my good friend Paul to come up from Nashville and play guitar. A lot of the music is very guitar driven and acoustic guitar driven. So I will tell you that I don't think I ever had tried to get Ron DeWitt to play much of this music with me because it kind of wasn't his style. It's a lot of alternate tunings and fingerstyle picking that just wasn't what he liked the most. So it's a real treat to have Paul come up and join us. And it's kind of like folk Americana, and it is a bit of a departure for me as a performer.
Yeah, I think that Nanci Griffith, she wouldn't be pigeonholed. So she wasn't quite a country artist.
Right.
She wasn't quite a pop artist.
Right.
She sang the first single version of From a Distance.
That's right. She actually had a big hit with it in Ireland. Yeah. She was a much more of a commercial success in Ireland than she was in the United States. And her own songs and a lot of covers that we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before we go there, though, Paul, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that you have, living in Nashville. If you play professional guitar in Nashville, you're good.
You're really good.
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing I learned about being in Nashville is that you can go out any night of the week and go to a club and hear somebody you've never seen before in your life, and you're like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I've been really, really lucky to be able to make a living doing that around there. But a lot of times I had to go on the road too. And I guess the biggest one was I toured with Alabama for several years and did the American Farewell tour with them, which is funny because, they won't actually. I was going to
say they have said farewell, but they haven't quit.
They haven't quit. Yeah, they haven't quit. But that was a blast, And so I've done a lot of that kind of thing, touring with different people and, anywhere from driving the bus or driving the van, playing stadiums and playing on the back of a flatbed truck in a Piggly Wiggly parking lot.
Very good.
So some of us remember that even though you've been back home now for a long time, Lynne, you spent several years in Nashville. Is that when you met?
Yes, I lived in Nashville for 11 years, actually. And I met Paul because we were both hired to do a Christmas show for a little theater company there called Mockingbird Public Theater. And so we put together this show that was 5 actors, singers, sitting on stools, singing songs and telling stories about Christmas in the South. And it was just wildly popular. It took off, and then they made us do it like every night. Remember? Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it was like every night because it was so intimate but really popular. So we did it a ton, and we did it every year then for a while. And And it certainly was, I will say, the precursor to me doing my own Christmas shows here.
That had to have been the
absolutely.
inspiration for your now legendary Christmas shows.
Your shows are way bigger, though.
They have became that because I married Ron DeWitt.
Well,
right, because our show
enough.
was small and just acoustic guitar, really, and then just us sitting around. But my shows then became concerts with. Well, Ron DeWitt wouldn't leave the house without a drummer and a bass player. That was what he would say. So we had to have a whole band. But yeah, they became something that was totally inspired by that experience because I tried to do a little humorous sketches and stuff to bring a little bit of a variety show feel to our concerts here. And a lot of that was really inspired by the Christmas shows we did in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so now, so the it's not exclusively Nanci Griffith. It sounds like it's songs connected to her, but also will feature songs by other people who you probably know.
Yes, I hope so. So Nanci did a couple, her big album was called Other Voices, Other Rooms, where she recorded favorite songs of other I said composers because I've been living with the Gershwins the last week. Other songwriters.
How are the Gershwins?
The Gershwins. Well, both of them are dead, but their music is alive and well. I just cashed a check from them today. So, but yeah, so she had this great album of, I guess people would call them covers, but they were just legendary songwriters, and I decided to augment just her music with some of those guys and also just people whose music she loved to record. So we'll be including songs by Bob Dylan, John Prine, and Tom Waits, which I think gives people an idea of the feel of the show in general, especially if they're unfamiliar with Nanci Griffith's music, but also is still reflective of the kind of music she made, and she recorded multiple songs by those three artists. So that's what we're doing.
And so you've got you and Paul.
Yep.
And who else is
we
in the
have
ensemble?
Julia Andrews on keys, and we have Marita May on violin. We have Dave Ollinger on bass.
The usual suspects.
Well, most of them.
Most of the
not
usual
quite all
suspects.
of them. And I have a gal coming to sing harmony who was one of my students at Luther, who graduated a little over a year ago and now lives in the area. And we're all just going to kind of take turns playing auxiliary percussion because a lot of this music is the percussive element is not necessarily the thing that drives the bus, but more like flavorings. And so we're going to do that. And so I consequently have bought a lot of percussion toys at my house. I now own bongos and a cajon and many different shakers and a wood block. And it's been a great experience with Amazon.
You're going to hand them out to the audience.
Yes, and give them a cues. And Paul
what
bought
could possibly go wrong?
Paul got a stomp box that he's going to play with.
I know. I'm going to play kick drum maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So Paul, Lynne talked about how she first got connected to the music of Nanci Griffith. Do you have a history, a liking?
Well, yeah. I'm going to say it was late 80s, maybe. I'm losing track of what years, but I toured for a while with a group called the McCarter Sisters, and they were less well known even than Nanci. But they had a deal right about the same time Nanci was coming to Nashville and getting her stuff going.
Yeah.
And they were a group of three sisters, two twins and an older sister who was kind of the lead singer. But the music that they played was all the records at that minute were being made kind of the same way. They were all real acoustic driven. That's when Mark O'Connor was playing fiddle on everybody's record.
Yes, right.
And those days when everything kind of had that sound to it, which actually was great for Nanci. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up, befriending some of her people, and one of her guitar tech, I think, ended up getting me an endorsement deal with a string company and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we had these. I never played with Nanci. But we had a lot of mutual, acquaintances, and we kind of ran around in the same circles. And we played some festivals together. You play those things where everybody camps out for a week, and you've got music all day long. And so since back when I was learning to use a capo, back in the 80s when it was like I was. And I just moved to Nashville, and it was kind of a great time, really, because everybody was playing, and everybody was playing the same kind of things. You know, it was sort of like you felt like you were involved in the business, you know,
Right,
which is, you know, it's completely different now. But
Yes.
in those days, if you played the acoustic guitar, you know, you were on fire. I mean, you could work. You know, I worked all the time. So, you know, I've known about Nanci and about her music since then, and have loved it, you know, ever since. And I couldn't believe it when Lynne contacted me. You know, we were kind of, you know, it was really sad to lose her, and Lynne just contacted me kind of out of the blue. We hadn't talked in a little while,
Right.
you know, and with this idea, and I was like, absolutely, I'm there. Put it down, book me.
No, I believe I wrote a text that said,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing a concert of Nanci Griffith. Would you want to come and play?
Yeah.
And you just wrote yes. And
Yes.
I was like, okay, now I need to plan something. And if you're coming up, then we need to take it to a couple other cities, and we need to do this right.
I have a funny kind of, lately, I've had this philosophy where I've just decided I'm not going to play other people's music anymore.
Right, that's right. I remember you
know,
telling me that.
and
that's why I haven't called you in a
I
really
told
long
you,
time.
I know. I told you that. I said, I'm not playing other people's music, you know, and it's a strange thing to say, but, and there's lots of long stories behind it. Mm-hmm. But the minute you asked me about Nanci's music, I was like, I'm totally in. I'm absolutely in. And not just Nanci, but Lynne Rothrock.
Oh.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody else that could call me, you know. Teddy called me the other day, you know, when Alabama was playing in Nashville and they wanted to hire the symphony to play with them at the last minute.
Yeah.
And so I do their orchestrations and stuff for the orchestra. And so Teddy called, you know, but I hadn't heard from him in 5 years. And I would probably answer his phone call, and I'd probably answer yours. Otherwise, I really, you know.
Everybody else goes to voicemail.
Everybody else's
that's right.
voice.
Now, of course, mainly our goal here is to
Let everybody know about this wonderful show that's happening.
and come to see the show Friday and Saturday at Opus. But you did mention that you're going to go on the road, and you're playing some pretty good rooms.
Well, we're taking it up to Minneapolis, which there's a room I love to play called Crooners. They have 3 different venues there, and this will be the 3rd performance I've done in that space. So I'm trying to build my little audience up there, which is great. So we're taking that up there. We'll be there August 5th. Anybody in the Minneapolis area, or if you have friends, tell them to come and join us. And then we're also stopping in Decorah because it's really on the way.
Yeah, and you know, Lynne is on the faculty.
I teach at Luther
so-
College, and so we're going to stop there and play at Pulpit Rock on Wednesday, August 3rd. So we're doing our little tour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, the show is once in a blue moon and in some other places too, but for us, the important ones are July 29th and 30th. Yes, 29th and 30th?
Yes,
yeah.
at Opus.
29th and 30th at Opus, and tickets the usual way through artsiowa.com.
Yep, go to artsiowa.com, and it'll direct you to Opus events, and then you can buy tickets for either Friday or Saturday, or both if you love it.
Well, good luck with it. Paul,
Thanks,
great to
Dennis.
meet you.
It's great to meet you, too. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
today.
and thanks for coming in, and good luck with it.
Thanks a lot, Dennis.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.